Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arab TV one more time, and I'm your host, Zaid Faransso. My guest this evening is Jamal Mavrikios. He's the founder and president of Pacific Arabic Language School in San Francisco, and he's here today to tell us a little bit about this establishment, its role, its history, and what it does to the community, and also a little bit about himself and probably the Arabic language. Good evening, Jamal.
Good evening. Nice to be here, Zaid.
Thank you for coming. So we decided to start the conversation by talking about Pacific Arabic. The establishment has been around for quite a while, I understand. Is that right?
It was established in March of 2001, so almost 14 years.
Wow. Yeah, and I haven't heard of it, although I've been in the area for about 5-6 years now. The first chance of me hearing about it was through a promotion on Facebook. That was a great chance. Tell me how this idea started with you.
Oh, well, I've always been very interested in languages, and Arabic has a prominent place in my life. And I decided in 1999 that I wanted to teach languages, and Arabic seemed the language that most needed teaching. You know, we have Alliance Française for French, and we have the Goethe Institute for German, and so I had the idea that there should be such an entity for Arabic, where Arabic is taught for beginners and also through to the advanced level, and with all sorts of other activities around that, enhancing the experience of learning the language and becoming engaged with the culture.
And where did your personal engagement come from? Do you have a background in teaching, or is it just the fact that you're a native speaker with interest in the language and the culture of that area?
Well, no, I hadn't been a teacher prior to that. I was just someone who had been a student of language and had very strong opinions on how that should be done and wanted to pursue that.
Okay. And that started at a time when we had a sizable Arabic community in the area, is that correct?
Well, yes, I suppose so. In this area, 2001. Yes. But you know, that was March 2001, and I began teaching. I got a group together, and they moved on to the next level, and I got a new group together, and you know, they were proceeding in their way, and I hadn't really intended at that point, frankly, for this to necessarily grow into a full-time endeavor. But then the tragedies happened in September, and one thing that came out of it is that many people, many Americans, wanted to understand better what was being said on the other side of the divide, how they are seen abroad, and for a number of things converged on that time period, and many people were interested in learning more about Arabic. Some of them went quite far with it.
So I understand that from that occasion, your audience, so to speak, are no longer just people who are interested in learning Arabic because of their background or their family's demands or their job demands, but people from all kinds of, all parts of the community, people with simply interest.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. Interest that stems from all sorts of areas that I couldn't have predicted until I began teaching and asking people where their interest in Arabic derived from. Some people are just very interested in dance. Some people just are very involved in Middle Eastern dance in the Bay Area, which appears to be quite a hub for that sort of activity, and they wanted to understand what the songs were about. You know, sometimes it's on that level. Sometimes people are involved romantically with an Arab. They're married to someone. They're going to meet their mother-in-law in Beirut next year. They want to be able to speak to her a little bit, you know. All sorts of reasons. Plus, of course, what you might expect. Professional development, academic development, etc.
So that's how the start was, and then the growth was kind of dictated by the expansion in people's interest.
Absolutely.
And then that takes us all the way to this point in which this establishment is no longer just a school to teach language, but a place where people can learn a lot about Arabic culture. Is that right?
Well, we do teach some cultural courses. We have heading besides the language classes, history and culture. We've taught several classes on early Arab history, later Arab history, the Arab Spring, and calligraphy.
How long are these courses, if I may ask?
Our courses are generally 8 weeks.
So people can tackle a level of the language in 8 weeks.
Absolutely. So we cover one educational module in 8 weeks. We have 6 8-week terms per year. We also have some 4-week workshops.
And you have times that can accommodate workers or students or people who have no time earlier in the day?
We only have times for people who work during the day.
Okay.
Our classes meet between 6 and 7:30 p.m. or between 7:30 and 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, also Saturday and Sunday mornings.
All right. And that's about Arabic and Arab-related events and ideas. Have you ever thought of expanding to tackle other languages?
We have, and we have been teaching. We've been teaching Amharic for some time. Occasionally, when we have enough demand, we've been teaching Amharic, I believe, since 2006. Recently, we began also teaching Tigrinya, a language of Eritrea. We've also taught Farsi. We've got a Farsi program now, and modern Greek seems to have stuck.
Which tells us a lot about the nature of the Bay Area and the fact that it's a melting pot for all kinds of cultures and languages. It's the kind of thing you can only see in an area that has this kind of multitude of nationalities and different tongues.
That could be.
Yeah. Arabic taught in the center. Are we talking about standard formal Arabic, or do we have ways to learn and teach informal or local tongues?
Oh, we teach a variety of Arabics, if I may use the word in the plural. Our core curriculum is, of course, standard Arabic, Fusha, and we teach, we have a 3-year program for standard Arabic. And beyond the 3-year program, students are engaged in readings classes and conversation classes and such. We also, though, teach various dialects. So, Levantine dialect and Egyptian dialect are very commonly found. Yes. And of course, we offer those very popular dialects. But we go beyond Middle Eastern Arabic. We teach Moroccan Arabic, which is not all that common in the West. We have a Moroccan 2 class meeting now, moving into Moroccan 3. I actually developed that curriculum in the textbook, and audio was recorded in Morocco. We're really quite proud of our Moroccan Arabic program and the materials that we use. We teach Moroccan Arabic without the assumption that the student already knows standard Arabic. We teach it as a standalone language with its own progression through the courses. However, students in our dialect classes, and I use the word dialect loosely in the case of Arabic, must be able to read and write Arabic script. All of our classes, with the exception of Arabic 1, which is Fusha, is taught using the Arabic script. We also teach, beyond the Egyptian, Levantine, and Moroccan, we teach Tunisian Arabic. I don't know of another school that offers Tunisian Arabic in the West. And we developed the textbook ourselves. I don't know of another textbook for Tunisian Arabic in the English language. I've seen a couple in French. And Gulf Arabic and Iraqi. But we don't get a lot of call for that, frankly.
Oh. So I would assume you have enough base of students to get all that started.
Well, it would be nice if there were more. It would be nice if we had all of our classes full and moving forward, but we do have enough. The school has been in teaching Arabic, and we've been fulfilling our mission for, I believe I said 14 years before, I guess it's 13 as of next March. And we show no signs of stopping.
And it's usually demand-based, meaning that you actually get a group of people who are willing to learn a certain dialect, so to speak, or a certain concept or idea or a culture, and you formulate the curriculum based on their demand. Is that right? Or do you decide to like build it and they will come?
More the latter. More the latter. For instance, a student might say, I really want to learn Moroccan, so we'll test the waters and see if anybody else is interested, and we'll put it out there and see if they come. So it's more the latter. It's more that we will put it out there and see if they come, but sometimes things are sparked by some comments from current students.
Percentage-wise, what's the percentage of your Arab versus non-Arab students in a class?
We have some heritage learners, but primarily our students are not Arab.
Do they find it easy to catch on?
Well, it's really hard to generalize, actually. We have all kinds of students with all sorts of capacities, some more linguistically inclined than others, some with more aptitude toward this aspect of language acquisition versus that. But some students find it difficult indeed, and some students find Spanish very difficult, and some students are amazed at how less complex it was than they had expected. I remember one student, one of my favorite comments from a student, a woman exclaimed in the middle of class, referring to Moroccan Arabic, "This is easier than French."
Well, again, like you said, generalization is probably not the right thing to do, especially in something like a language. It involves a certain type of smartness, a certain area in the brain that is responsible for absorbing things. And while people can control their level of learning, they cannot control their absorption of the language.
Right. And, different aspects are more commonly difficult for more students. Most students, most English-speaking students of Arabic are going to struggle to some extent with pronunciation. And it seems when we start to approach the verbal auxin, many students struggle with that.
So that takes us to my next part of the interview. I really wanted to ask if it's easy for a non-Arab or an Arab or a person of an Arabic background who has never learned Arabic to absorb or to acquire that knowledge. I hear that Arabic is classified as one of the most difficult languages in the world, I think after Chinese or some other Asian languages.
Probably Korean.
Korean. How do you tailor your plan so it can fit everybody? Or do you tailor your plan so that it can fit everybody?
Well, we do try. We do try and have multiple approaches to pretty much every concept so that we can find what works for particular individuals in the class. Some students learn better through more visually. So although the alphabet might be new to them, seeing the word on the whiteboard helps them absorb the vocabulary, for instance, or helps them see how things shift in terms of, for instance, a verb conjugation. Some people need to hear it and prefer not to see it. And we play all sorts of games in class to try and engage people in the classroom in different ways and engage different parts of the brain. Sitting down, standing up, etc.
I'm by no means an expert in teaching or learning a language, but from my limited background, I know that learning a certain language can be approached through different ways. One of them is to teach basic building blocks, letters, and then building the letters into properly sentenced phrases, or just throw in a sentence in front of a person and then teaching them, after they memorize these sentences, teaching them how to break these into their basic units. Any of these is your method, or both of them, or is there a different way?
Well, there are many ways. I would say, we begin, many schools approach Arabic by presenting the writing system first. Mm-hmm. And then once the students have gotten familiar with the phonology of the language, the sounds of the language, and know the shapes of the letters and different parts of the word, and how to form these letters and how to read these letters, then they begin learning Arabic. We believe that that makes about as much sense as teaching a student music notation before they ever touch an instrument. Mm-hmm. So we begin the very first night with some basic vocabulary, greetings, expressions, and they'll learn 5 letters of the alphabet. We don't teach any more letters of the alphabet the second week, mm-hmm. but we drill what we've learned, and we teach them something about vowels while going back to our conversation work and expanding on that. And so we take the first 8-week course to present slowly the writing system and about 250 words of vocabulary, basic sentence structure, equational sentences, not too much with verbs, and just get them comfortable and engaged with the language.
It's more of a mixture of both.
Absolutely.
Kind of building the smaller blocks and at the same time showing people the bigger words and probably even a couple of sentences so they can absorb what they mean and what they look like. Phonetics, they're definitely a challenge for people who have no exposure to the language. Especially, I know about letters that only Arabs can pronounce. Does that need training, a lot of it?
Absolutely. We work with it a lot in the classroom, and we try and encourage the students to work with the audio materials that we've prepared outside of the classroom, but also we do offer a pronunciation workshop. We have a very nice Syrian lady teaching our pronunciation workshop these days, and that seems to help.
Okay. Everything can be done by practice, I believe, but does it take a long time, a short time, or is it again variable like any other part of the language?
Oh, pronunciation specifically?
Yes.
Well, I don't know that full adults can ever hope to have a perfect native pronunciation. There are physical changes that happen that culminate around, I think, age 21 or so. I tell my students, do your best, but don't stress over it. In our country, we speak to people with accents every day. So what? The important thing is to make yourself understood.
So it is true that there are physical changes that can limit a person's capacity to pronounce, especially if he started learning at an older age.
That's my understanding, but I'm not a medical doctor.
Well, I have a background in physiology and medicine, and I can see how that develops, definitely, but I had my doubts. Because I can see both ends of the spectrum. I can see people who spend 20 and 30 years and never learn the proper way of spelling something, of pronouncing something. Or I can see people who think different and immerse themselves in the language and can become closer.
Well, that's true. Yes, I've encountered people who have been in this country only 6 years, and yes, I can hear an accent, but rather faint.
Yes. That's about the difficulty. What about Arabic in comparison with other languages? So you had the experience of teaching different languages. Have you had this personal experience of teaching languages other than Arabic?
I myself?
Yes.
I have. Arabic has a reputation for being a difficult language in itself. And I would say certainly Arabic presents certain challenges to the Western student. However, I don't think any given language is in and of itself difficult or easy. I believe that all languages are equally complex, and they express the same complex inner and outer world in which we live. Arabic expresses its complexity in ways that are very different than the way English does. The grammar works quite differently. Constructions like the idafa take students some getting used to. The non-concatenative morphology, the three-consonant verbal root system, utterly different than the way Western languages work. Very systematic, very predictable, beautiful in that way, but very different. And so these present a challenge. The lack of cognates presents a challenge. Cognates being words that sound the same or look the same in different languages. If you're learning Spanish, the first time you see the word información, you already know what it means. That's a no-brainer. Arabic doesn't give us many of those. There are very few words that are in common between Arabic and English other than borrowings. And Standard Arabic doesn't like borrowings. But there are some accidental cognates, like pit, right? But these are some of the challenges of Arabic. But the real challenge of Arabic for the Western student is what we call diglossia, which is what comes as a surprise to many students endeavoring to learn Arabic. Diglossia being in linguistics we call it diglossia. It's a situation wherein there's more than one language or more than one form of a language alive and well in a given language community. So for instance, in Haiti, they speak continental French in formal situations, and they'll speak their Creole, which is really quite different, in the marketplace or at home. And this is what's going on in the Arabic-speaking world. And many Westerners are under the impression that there is a language called Arabic, and that everybody speaks and reads and writes this language the way they do French or Italian. And that's not the case. So people have to learn. I tell them they're going to need to learn 2 languages in order to really function in society. They must learn Standard Arabic, or they'll be illiterate, and they won't be able to understand much of what's on television. But they must also learn the colloquial, or they won't understand, what people are saying around them. And to interact, socially, it's not altogether appropriate to demand an evening of fusha at the dinner table.
Well, it's doable, and it's a sound communication method, but like you said, it's not the perfect way to spend an evening. And besides, you have TV, you have the market, you have older people who would feel weird when they listen to you speaking in formal fusha. So yes, now that you mention, I do see that the fact that people learning Arabic have to actually learn 2 languages, it's a bit of a challenge. Do you see this in a different language?
Well, it used to be the case in modern Greek, actually. Mm-hmm. We used to have katharevousa, which was primarily a classical form, and we had the motiki, which was the way people really spoke, and people had to learn the other in school. Very similar, actually. Italian was many languages until they finally decided on that one region's dialect. But nowadays, Arabic is the one that leaps to mind. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. No, I believe this exists in some other languages as well. Mm-hmm. It's just that many of my students come to the classroom with no idea that this is the case.
That sounds like a challenge, a nice challenge, so to speak, a good way to move someone's life. If you have the interest, the urge to learn, like you said, a trip to the Middle East, marriage or relationship with someone who speaks Arabic, or if you're just interested in the culture and want to know what that song says, it's all seem like perfectly good reasons to start and embark on learning a language. How many levels does it take a person to get into a level where they can feel, I wouldn't say fluent, but conversant?
Well, how long does it take to learn a language? That would, of course, depend a lot on the student's abilities, their linguistic inclinations, and the amount of effort they put into it. But a diligent student who's determined to learn Arabic can get to the point of being conversational within a year. Now, to feel really comfortable and to be able to understand most of what they hear when they turn on the television, for instance, Al Jazeera, that's going to take a bit longer. By the end of our third year program, our students are reading real-world Arabic literature, news media, etc. That's reading. One has a bit longer to process while one's reading than
Yes.
when language is coming at you verbally, rapid fire. It takes a while in just about any language, but the passive skills of understanding what you hear certainly come prior to being able to express oneself eloquently and without a lot of hesitation.
All right. So let's use this forum to invite everyone who has some sort of an attachment to the Arab world, who has an interest in this particular field of knowledge, or who just feels curious to learn. Let's give them an invitation and tell us where can they go and what can they do to join you.
Well, my school is located in downtown San Francisco at 55 New Montgomery Street. So it's just south of Market Street. It's just a half block away from the Montgomery Street Muni or BART station. And we're on the 7th floor, and we teach Monday through Thursday in the evening and weekend mornings.
Sounds great. Like I said, this is your forum. You can reach out and you can fulfill that dream you always had. At the end of our conversation, I can find the most appropriate thing to say. Shukran.
Afwan.
Thank you for your valuable talk, and great to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Zaid.
Thank you.